every generation is shaped by its unique historical, social, and cultural contexts. These formative environments profoundly influence not only economic outlooks, but also the very architecture of emotional intelligence and maturity. Our objective is to undertake a sociological examination of the baby boomer generation. This analysis will explore how specific upbringing paradigms and the prevailing absence of accessible therapeutic frameworks may have contributed to distinct patterns in emotional processing. We aim to understand the roots of perceived emotional maturity differences across generations. The formative years of the baby boomer generation were characterized by a post-World War II societal ethos. This era emphasized resilience, stoicism, and a strong focus on material stability and conformity. Emotional expression was often implicitly, if not explicitly, discouraged. Children were frequently raised with a seen and not heard philosophy, prioritizing obedience and outward composure over internal emotional exploration. The prevailing parenting styles often lacked the tools or inclination for fostering deep emotional literacy. This environment inadvertently cultivated a suppression of complex feelings. The emphasis was on practical skills and societal contribution, rather than on introspection or emotional regulation. This cultural conditioning meant that many boomers learned to internalize distress, viewing vulnerability as a weakness. During the boomer generation's upbringing and early adulthood, the field of psychology and psychotherapy was nascent and largely stigmatized. Mental health issues were often viewed as personal failings or moral deficiencies, rather than treatable conditions. Access to professional therapeutic support was extremely limited. The concept of emotional processing, self-reflection, or seeking external help for internal struggles was not widely understood or accepted. Individuals were expected to tough it out or rely solely on familial or religious support systems. This societal void meant that many boomers lacked the opportunity to develop sophisticated emotional coping mechanisms. They were not equipped with the language or frameworks to articulate complex feelings, resolve internal conflicts, or navigate interpersonal dynamics constructively. This absence left a significant gap in their emotional toolkit. The historical context of boomer upbringing and the lack of therapeutic resources can manifest in observable emotional patterns. One common observation is a potential difficulty with empathy, particularly when confronted with emotional expressions that deviate from their learned norms. This can lead to misunderstandings in intergenerational communication. Another manifestation can be a tendency towards rigid thinking and a resistance to new perspectives, especially those challenging established emotional paradigms. Conflict resolution may lean towards avoidance or dominance rather than collaborative problem solving. Emotional defensiveness can also be a prevalent trait. This is not to say all individuals exhibit these traits, but rather to identify patterns within a generational cohort. These patterns often stem from an underdeveloped capacity for emotional self-awareness and regulation. The emotional patterns observed within the boomer generation inevitably impact intergenerational relationships. Younger generations, particularly millennials and Gen X, have grown up in an era with greater emphasis on emotional intelligence and mental health awareness. This creates a significant disconnect. Family dynamics can become strained when emotional needs and communication styles clash. In professional settings, differing approaches to feedback, collaboration, and emotional expression can lead to friction. Societal discourse can also be impacted, with a perceived lack of empathy or understanding across generational divides. Younger generations often find themselves navigating these emotional landscapes with limited reciprocal understanding. This can place an undue burden on them to adapt and accommodate, rather than engaging in mutually beneficial emotional exchange. Our sociological analysis suggests that the emotional development of the baby boomer generation was profoundly shaped by specific historical and cultural forces. The emphasis on stoicism and the limited availability of therapeutic resources created a unique emotional blueprint. This is not a judgment, but an objective observation. Understanding these formative influences is crucial for fostering greater intergenerational empathy and communication. Recognizing the historical context of emotional development can help bridge divides rather than widen them. This analytical lens provides a framework for navigating complex generational dynamics with greater insight and compassion.